Hi, Facebook friends. Helen Archontou here, CEO of the YWCA of Northern New Jersey. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am so happy to have some time with you here today. The YWCA, as you all know, is a nonprofit organization, and a key piece of our backbone is our board of directors. They are amazing, very committed volunteers that are entrenched in our community who not only believe in the YWCA and its mission, but have stories to share that are very aligned with our work. And we're always so happy when one of them are willing to share their story in this wonderful platform that we've created, YWTV. And today I'm so proud and grateful to have our board member, Marci Hopkins, join us. Marcy has been a longtime supporter of the YW, even before she was on the board. But, she definitely emulates the ever-evolving woman that the YWCA for sure supports with our mission. So with that, welcome, Marcy. So nice to see you.
Thank you. So great to be here, Helen. Honored to be here for sure.
So for our viewers, let me tell you a little bit more about all the great things that Marcy is up to, and then we'll jump into talking with her about them. Marcy has her own show. It's on CBS-owned WLNY-TV at 10:55. It's channels 10-55, and it's on at 10 a.m. on Saturdays. And what I'm so excited to talk to her about today, because I've been watching as she's been, sharing about her newest project. She always has a lot going on, but her newest project is her book launch, which is Chaos to Clarity. And so we're going to talk about that today. Wake Up, her show, touches on wellness, health, female issues, cooking, family, self-help, mental health, beauty, along with musical guests, cooking demos, you name it. There's something important to share. Marcy is always using her platforms as vehicles to do that, to help us all be our best selves. And she wants us to all live our happiest lives, as she is such a great model for striving to do that in her own. Over a cup of coffee, Marcy always is open to a candid conversation with her guests, and her mission is very simple. She is committed to inspiring and empowering us all. At the same time, she loves to spread hope and happiness. I always think of her as just, sprinkling that glitter everywhere, in her messages. Her show is a real passion project for her, and she is now 5 years sober after winning her battle with alcoholism. When Marcy is not hosting her show, she is the mother of two. She devotes so much of her time not only to the YW, but so many causes in our community. She supports the Kumali Organization for Orphans in Uganda, Africa. She is ambassador of Survivor Corps, helping to match COVID-19 survivors with those that are sick and assisting in finding an immunization. And as I shared, she is an active board member here with our YWCA. Marcy.
Yes.
How do you fit it all in and never look exhausted? I should start with that question.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, Helen. Sometimes it is hard to stay motivated all the time, as most of us have issues with that, right? And, you talked about me being 5 years sober, which I'm actually 6 years sober now. So I'm very grateful to be celebrating 6 years sobriety. And this truly has changed my life. And all of these accomplishments and my life ever evolving is because of the healing through my sobriety. And I'm so very grateful for that. But getting back to getting motivated, it's really just staying present and living in gratitude. And when I feel down or low, I just try to tell myself, you just keep moving forward with little bitty steps and just make those little accomplishments, and just the bigger goals that we have down the road, I just enjoy the journey to them.
Yes. Well, those are some, really good tips that we all can embrace about gratitude for sure, and kind of creating that space and kind of interrupting those moments with that positivity to help move us back into the light, as we say, for
Yes.
sure.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful that you have, used your story as a platform to be able to model for others that, there is a next chapter,
Yeah.
and no pun intended with that, in terms of, that you actually wrote chapters, many, many chapters, in terms of your story. I mean, you've been so open all of these years through your show, through your speaking engagements, through your work in the community to share your stories. But now you really did write a chapter, and
Yeah.
many at that, to be able to share your story in a much more kind of permanent, ongoing way, for people. So, what was, before we jump into the book itself? I know so many people think about writing a book,
Yeah.
but everyone doesn't actually do it. So what was that like? How did you go from that moment of thinking about doing it to actually getting it done?
Uh, well, I will say it is very overwhelming to even, you know, think about doing it. I I I was overwhelmed, and it was something that I didn't think that I actually could do. But I started seeing so many signs that I needed to write this book. And I was being very guided to write this book, as I was guided to start my show, and use my story as a way of helping others to know that they're not alone, that they can transform in this life, that they can live a happy life. And I know this because I've done it. And that is what I'm offering through Chaos to Clarity, because my life was full of chaos. And I will tell you, if there were low moments and there was no chaos, I created chaos because that's what I knew, that's what I was comfortable with. And I think a lot of people could feel the same. And this was a lot from the trauma of my past. My childhood shaped the person that I became, as far as relationships, how I felt about myself, using drinking to cope, having very low self esteem, hating myself, feeling that I really didn't have direction in this life, even though I was living a productive life. So that's what's so interesting. You can't really form an opinion or judge someone else, and you shouldn't do that. But when we see someone else living a certain life, we may think, oh my gosh, look at that life. But you have no idea what is happening internally for the person or in the relationship. So that is just what I wanted to put out there. I wanted to share the story of my chaos, and then helping others to see the signs for themselves in their lives, and help in ways that they could break the cycles. And then I share my journey through my 12-step program, what that brought to my life, and how I started moving forward to this incredible life that I thought I would never have. And again, I do that and share ways I've done that to motivate others. And also, it's so much, this is all about our mindset. And that is what I've learned. That is what I've learned, and that's what I want to help others, give tools, resources. And I just want to say on that front, it's so easy to get educated about things and have the tools given to us, but we must put them into action to create any change. So that's what my intention is for this book.
Well, early on, one of the things you said was about, trauma in your life and chaos in your life,
Yeah,
created the chaos, and that when there wasn't any chaos, that you created it. And I think that
yeah,
that is something that is so insightful to get to that point, in the work, right, that clearly you've done, to be able to step back and say that. And I appreciate you sharing it, because I think that, you know, others may not realize that they are on that chaos treadmill,
Yeah.
You know, and and there's a continuum of it. I mean, for you, obviously, you were playing it out with alcoholism, for
Yeah.
sure, as being, one of your coping techniques. But so, people play that out in many ways.
Hmm.
There's different end results for that, even if it's just, not that it's just because all of it can be, so harmful. But I think it's such a relatable piece and such an important piece for all of us to really think about is when are we creating chaos and, you know, really stepping back and taking a look at what coping mechanisms we've put in place um,
Right.
that are fostering that type of lifestyle, which is not healthy, not from.
Yeah. I mean, there's many, I don't really addictions, these are things that we feel that we must go back to, even though it's harming us more,
Yeah.
whether that's food or gambling or sex or whatever it may be. We're using these things to actually deal with a void in our lives. And mentally and physically, we become addicted. We feel that we must need these things. But the other thing that I want to share is that, you know, my book is not just about recovery.
Mhm.
That was my source of coping. And I help you to get through that if it is something that you're dealing with. But what we're also learning about alcoholism, which they're starting to try to move away from that word.
Mhm.
And the other reason I'll say I share my story is because there should be no shame in this. We were taught that it was shameful, but it's not. There's no shame in alcoholism, which is now alcohol use disorder. It's a spectrum,
Mhm.
and we're all at a different place on the spectrum. And so when we think about alcoholism, we think about someone that gets up in the morning, they're drinking all day, their whole life is falling apart. Well, when you start thinking about it as a spectrum, it really is, you can start thinking about it in a different way, right? So it kind of goes back to that getting educated about it, your mindset about it. You can start saying, I'm drinking 3 glasses of wine a night, and I'm noticing how it's affecting my life in a negative way. And that's with any of these things. I'm overeating. You're dealing with something that of trauma or something that's happened in your life. You're coping that way. And so there is help out there in whatever you're using as these negative coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
So I again, it is about recovery, my book, and I'm so grateful that you have me on to talk about this, but it's really about just identifying what is happening in your life and how maybe you can relate in bad relationship cycles. I share a lot about that, what happened with my parents, what I looked for from them and I didn't get, how that affected me in building, my ability to create relationships were not good. So there's so many things, abandonment. There's just so much in the book that really touches us all. And if you think about somebody drinking too much, you think about our families. Each one of us that watch this can probably say that someone in our family, if not ourselves,
Absolutely.
has a drinking problem.
Yeah. I mean, statistically, we know this is very relatable to, as you said, whether it's someone watching or someone, very close to them in their life. And not only is it relatable for alcoholism, but as you said, that, there's many addictions and many pieces that go in. We recently had Audrey Zona on, and she was talking about eating,
Yes.
in a similar way, and her trauma during her youth, that really kind of led her to using food, in a way that wasn't, healthy, and how she had to make a shift. So I mean,
Right. And then you have body dysmorphia. Like
right,
there's so many things that go
that
with that.
come.
Yes.
And I think that's
Hmm.
what's so great about you really capturing your story with words on a paper in a really, concrete way for the rest of us is that, again, we each have a different issue per se, but the ripple effect of it, is really where, um, there are many commonalities, and we can learn from each other. And
Exactly.
we know that sharing each other's stories are the most powerful way and the fastest way to moving us towards healing. So, so
Absolutely.
grateful that you've taken the time, to do this and do this process. So for you, because obviously, you shared that now 6 years, of sobriety. Each year I would imagine that, you heal and live with it, differently and deeper,
Yes.
meaning to it all. How did writing the book, impact, your healing and your sobriety and, you
Yeah.
know, where you were evolving to?
So it's really interesting because I actually had this aha moment like 2 days ago. When I started writing the book, and I'll go back to that. The When I started writing the book, it was very, very difficult. Every time I went through the trauma of my sexual abuse or the beating that I received when I was at 6 and then moved in with my grandparents and then the bad relation, it was very difficult, especially the sexual abuse part. Um, but I also was able to just have another layer of healing. And what I mean by this is that the aha moment was 2 days ago. I'm going through editing with my editor, and I didn't have those breakdown moments, right? This is something that happened to me, but it does not define me. It is not who I am today. I'm not going to allow that to impact me. And this just is also a part of my spiritual healing. And it's just that you just learn so many ways through each layer of your healing to cope and deal with it in different ways. And I'm just so grateful that today I can say that it did not affect me, but I also am grateful for the process of it because I healed even more so
Yeah.
at a deeper level.
Yeah, one of our viewers, Patty Begley, is saying great point, and she's agreeing that, this, having a vehicle like this can move you, deeper into, into the stages of healing for sure.
Yeah.
So, how did you organize your thoughts, for the chapters and your book? I mean, I know, again, you've been speaking about this, and, again, so much gratitude that you've been sharing your story for so many years. I mean, I've seen you speak at events. I've seen you speak on your show. I've, heard you speak in smaller groups and larger groups and share your story. How did you take all of that and organize it into this finished product?
So for me, I had to take the book in bite-sized pieces. All right. So I would write stories or I would write things that happened to me. And I did have an editor help me to put it together. I am not someone that had ever written a book. So I did need help with actually putting the book together. But I did, share my stories, and I just continued to write. And it was years of stuff that I had written. I even took a course, how to write a book, and that helped me to identify like writing chapters and what would go into these chapters and so on. And again, another thing that is so important, and this is in any aspect of our lives, is listening to our intuition and listening to our inner gut and our guides. And we all have them.
Mhm.
And I know sometimes it's hard to listen because of the chaos all around us. And so how I started to calm that chaos was truly through meditation.
Yeah.
And this is something, if you really listen to people that have healed, transformed, that are in higher levels in life or whatever, just living a good life, they will listen to them and they will say that meditation, intuition, and guides are all part of that. So I had to take those moments I did a lot of meditation through my healing, because you are really like reprogramming your entire fiber of being and your brain from what happened in your past. So that meditation allowed me to learn how to have those quiet moments, get those hits, those little hits of what I should be adding to my book or what I should be doing, whether it's for my show, whether it's, whatever information that I feel guided to put out there. Even before coming on here, I asked God to speak through me, and hopefully, touch someone out there that hears something that they need to hear to heal or move forward in life.
And, I have to say, you said something earlier too, that I'm thinking of as you're speaking again, about how we have these perceptions of people because of, their lives, how they look. And, you yourself, I mean, your show, I mean, and the aura around you, and, really presents that, everything is in perfect order. And because, that kind of comes with the territory of some of the space, that you work in, for sure. But I just appreciate that you're sharing that you have, no different than anyone else, have had to do all of the work. I mean, whether it was personally in terms of, reframing your mindset, or deciding you're going to write a book, you took a class. I mean, people have these misperceptions when they see, I think, people at a certain place, that everything just comes to them, comes easy, and they don't have to work for it. But in the end,
oh goodness,
in the end, we're all in the same space when it comes to this stuff. And thank you for lifting that up.
Yeah. We can all have anything we want in this life. It's just believing it. Law of attraction is one of the things I've really learned. Turning myself over to my higher power. I mean, there's just so many things that I have done. And, truly, Helen, when I started my journey in the 12-step program, I used to go in a little church that was, the meetings are generally, by in a church, or by, someplace right in a church. So I would go into the little chapel, and I literally would go to the front and kneel, and there was a little sheep. There was a picture of a sheep, and I would pray to the sheep and pray to the picture of Jesus, and say that if you save me, I will follow you. You will be my shepherd. I will be your lamb. Now, that for me, so why I'm saying that, and we all have different beliefs, but the biggest thing is just asking for that help from your higher power, and believing that it will happen is so important.
Yeah. Well, so we keep talking about the book. When can we get a copy? Where can we get a copy? Tell us.
So I'm really excited. This weekend, February 12th, you're supposed to start being able to pre-order. The link is happening right now. They're creating the link. And also the book should come out in May. So we're still going through the editing process. There's so much to do before you can get it out. And of course, you want it to be just perfect, because you don't want someone to be caught up on a word that's incorrect or a comma, so there is a lot to do with that. And, I'm also, I've learned just so much through my guests and the people that I have met through my journey, like you, Helen, and my show, Wake Up with Marcy, is truly what I've created is a platform for people to come on, tell their inspirational stories. Like you said, telling your story is so powerful, and how much it helps other people, and to see how you've gotten through it, that helps people so much. And then also getting educated by just the top people in their fields, and resources available, so we can actually put our life into action. So there's really just so much great information out there, and I'm just so excited to now have Chaos to Clarity to be just another step in hopefully helping more people.
Well, we know that it will. For our viewers, we have the link here in the comments so that you can get to Marcy's website, which is at Wake Up with Marcy. I also encourage you to follow her on all of her social media channels because, you will not miss a thing if you do. She's wonderful about, sharing important dates. We've been kind of getting a little glimpse at chapters of the book and what she's been working on all along. I'm an avid viewer, a cheerleader along the way. I really, I'm excited to see it come, and I hope everyone stays connected so that they can be watching. But you just talked about the show, so I would be remiss if I didn't, jump on that. I mean, your show has evolved so much from when it started to where it is
So
today.
much. Yeah.
And that's, I think, another one of these like great success stories, about the fact that, we are always ever evolving and kind of becoming our, different and better self along the way. So tell us about your show today. And, I know that you've had so many great guests on, again, because I obviously, watch.
Thank you.
What are some of the parts of your show that you love the most? I mean, obviously, I'm sure a lot of it is really just about inspiring because you do lift up so many great stories.
Thank you. I just honestly, Helen, I meet so many incredible people that they're just doing fantastic things for others, because what happens so often is we have to sometimes go through these very low points in our lives, and we're all touched by some sort of low hardship in our lives. But it's kind of the thing is how are we dealing with that? How are we coping with that? Again, we go back to coping. And so my guests will come on and they'll tell just incredible stories of how they've gotten through it. And now, because of this hardship or trauma, they are now helping other people. So there's so much that we can do to help other people. And it doesn't need to be on a large scale. It could be within your family, it's within your community, whatever it is. But you telling your story or whatever it is that you're going through and how you got through it can truly help somebody else. The other thing, I'm very grateful today that I can say I'm having celebrities coming on and telling their stories. And Patricia Heaton was on recently, and she was telling her story of how her drinking started to elevate. And I think that this is a story that a lot of us women and men too can relate to. She got done with her job. The kids were leaving. She noticed she started drinking at lunch. She noticed that her drinking started elevating in the evening. And she started saying, what am I doing with my life? I'm living kind of in this fog now, and this isn't who I am. And so she decided to put down that drink, and she wrote a book telling other people's stories of transformation and triumph. So, these are things that I don't care where you are in this life, we can all learn from each other. And so I'm just so grateful for that. And I have been really focusing a lot on recovery and mental health, and how we can change our mental mindsets. Our mindsets have so much power over who we are in this lives. And so that's just really just so grateful for all that's happening around my show, the interest in the show. I'm starting now. I'm actually going to start going into other markets with my show. As of right now, I'm in New York, New Jersey, parts of Connecticut on WLNY, but I'm looking to get into some other markets. I myself am now being interviewed as a recovery expert on ABC, NBC, Fox, CBS. So, I'm just so grateful for this ever evolving life that I have. But all of that came from healing, transformation, changing my mindset, forgiving. You must forgive, living in gratitude. These are all things we're all capable of doing, and living our happiest lives in our own journey. We all have our own journey, and comparing ourselves and living in jealousy just is going to continue to create that chaos in your life.
Well, again, it's so great that you're, reminding us that this is attainable to everyone, no matter, where you are, in this life. And, your show really is a gateway to reframing our mindsets, through these stories that you share, and whether it's Sheryl Crow and John Stamos, or, whether it's, a wonderful local practitioner in some area. I know every story that I've heard, really leaves us with something to feel inspired and feel like, wow, maybe I can do different or better. So, what a gift for sure. So I need to ask, I guess, as we're going to leave each other, I think to myself, you're a mom, you're a wife, so, we're talking about all these, being an author and being a talk show host and all these other things. But, like many of us, you're doing all that other stuff too.
I am. I'm a mom of, now a 10th grader. I got 2 teens. So one in 10th grade and one just went to college.
So what is that like? Your kids are getting older, and, that relationship is changing from kids being like the age of my kids, still being, younger. And so, attached and present all the time. How has that, evolved for you? And also, what is it like for your relationship with them to be living in such truth and honesty about your own experience? Because, that has to be so powerful. And that's different. A lot of parents aren't that connected to what's going on with them.
Right.
To share that in parenting.
It has, I will tell you, when they were younger, I was not open with them about what was going on. And I think my husband, wanted to make sure they were of an age that they could really understand it. I love the honesty that I have with my children. It has created a bond that far surpassed any bond that I thought I could have with my children. I am just, my daughter, I am trying to, raise a daughter that is empowered to speak her truth, to be just the best she can be, whatever that is, and to know that I am here. And she can come to me, and she does. And we have this incredible relationship. And I didn't have that with my mom. My mom was not with me. And there was my mother was an extreme alcoholic herself and had a lot of issues herself. So just to be able to have this sober mind, this healed mind, and be able to be there for my daughter, I'm so grateful. And I'm also with my son. I'm also very open with him, and we talk about things, and it has allowed him to be very open with me. I think the more that we allow, we learn when we're younger about keeping quiet, things are shameful. We don't tell our kids anything. We don't allow them to talk, be quiet, you just be seen, that kind of thing. And especially today, I had to become very mindful of giving them attention and my time. Because when I started my business, I was on my phone all the time. So I had to find a balance. And it wasn't easy to find that in the beginning. But I've realized how important, like if we're on our phone and we're telling our child we're listening to them, we're not. And they see that, right? Whether we hear them, they don't think we're really present with them. And I think being present is the best gift that we can give our children. And also there's so much you can learn from your children. I've learned so much from my children. Like when, my daughter will tell me how I'm reacting to something, and it allows me to stop and think about that, right? Because these children are speaking their truth, right? So maybe it's something for us to look at.
Yes. Well, it's so generous of you to share how, you had a challenged relationship, with your parents, but, reminding us that it doesn't always have to be that way, and that you can, introduce a different experience with your own children, and that you don't have to kind of, relive what was for you. And
I say, Helen, as a mom or a father, we have so much from our past. It's generational cycles,
Yeah.
right? And so we are bringing that into our relationships. We are bringing that into raising our children because of what happened to us. So I would ask if that, think about, did it really work for you? Because I had to do that. And my healing has just allowed me to be that much better for my children. But it's about healing for yourself first. And I invite all of parents out there to start healing for themselves, and allows them to be better in any relationship that they have.
Well, I think that's the best place to stop right there. Talk about a closing statement there, Marcy. Thanks for wrapping and tying that up with a great bow. I know we've had Robin Morsch cheering us on through the broadcast as
Hi,
well as
Robin.
so many others. I know we are so grateful to also have Robin on the board as well as
Yes.
you.
Great
Marcy,
team of ladies.
we do have a great team, and I just, really again want to thank you for sharing your story in so many ways. I know we all learn differently, so the fact that you just keep giving it to us in different modalities just really assures that the lesson, hits whoever and however they receive it and need to receive it. So thank you for doing that, and thank you to your family. You and your husband have been so generous to the YWCA and the work that we're doing, and just grateful that you use your stories, you use your time to support causes like ours and so many others in the community. So thank you.
Yeah, our pleasure. Thank you, Helen.
Thank you. And to our viewers, again, please stay connected to Marcy. As she said, the link's coming out so you can pre-order her book. And it will be, it sounds like, on your doorstep, by May, which is going to be here in a flash.
Yeah, everything's on my website, wakeupwithmarcy.com. So,
and it's right here in the link, that website. So definitely go check it out, and then you can get the times for her show. And as she launches into new markets, if you're elsewhere in the country, you'll be able to keep up on where Wake Up with Marcy is popping up, and when she's speaking and when she's in the community, as we get out more and doing more of that too, because there's nothing better than Marcy's energy in person. As you could tell, it's so great on camera.
Oh, thank you.
It's equally as energizing to be around her one-on-one. And I hope the rest of you join us tomorrow. We have AAPI from Montclair on at 10 a.m. tomorrow. As we know, we're in Lunar New Year this year, the Year of the Tiger. There's a great event happening this weekend that, we want to lift up and, just share a little bit about the culture and the importance of really embracing this, wonderful culture and this tradition and the work of AAPI Montclair. So we will see you tomorrow, and everyone have a great day. And Marcy, thanks again for spending some time with us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.